Oh, woe is me as I sit here and cry over the empty tank tab of the 35th. My dear, dear T64s, my favourite tank in the game, relegated to other divisions. Poor 35th. Oh well, they can still Helos spam, right? So, 35th in the new veterancy system and with the new adjustments has lost all of its armour. It's a lot of stuff to lose. It feels very empty in places now. There's still stuff you can take. I still think it's a reasonable division. I still think it has potential to be a very good division. It's certainly not going to be as amazing as it was, and you're going to rely a lot on your helicopters. No doubt about that. You're also going to rely a lot on your forward deployment ability. You're going to want to win games early. You don't want to go against the 39th in a long drawn-out game against someone of the similar level to you. They're going to, by the end of the game, have so many tanks, it's going to be hard to deal with potentially. So you want to move quickly. So how do we build the deck with that in mind? I mean, in big team games, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. It's going to be more 1v1s. The nice thing is we now have some gas for the logistics tab, which is a pretty nice improvement. But I have to rebuild all my decks, so I thought we'd start with this one. So the first thing is, I'm definitely taking at least one stack of the gas. Do you take some of these or just more gas? I think you just take all the gas now. I'm not sure there's a benefit to taking these anymore. There's a lot of them and they can go all over, but I think the gas is enough. I'd also consider sticking the Mi-26 in there as well. That is a lot of supply. I think if you're doing a 1v1 deck, I would take all of that supply. If you're doing a team deck, you maybe don't need to take all of the gas. You could just take this guy here. I think you could get rid of that, take that, and then take your command. And the command, I would take the 3 forward deployable Jeeps still. I think that's still what I would take here. It's nice that you got the BMD2 command here and stuff like that, but I think overall, I'd rather have 3 still. As I say, if this was a 1v1 deck, I'd consider spending the extra 3 activation points and taking the other set of gas, but for a team build, and let's assume that this is going to be my 10v10 deck, I wouldn't. But I'm just letting you know that if it was a 1v1, I probably would. Infantry. Oh, infantry, where do we start here? Well, I like to do my long range first, and the first thing we're going to do is go for the Conkers. They're pretty decent units still. I wouldn't change anything. I'm not going to rank them up. I'm still going to bring them in the UAZ for speed. And they're nice and forward deployable. We can lock down areas with them. The SPG-9, which has had a price decrease, thank you very much, that can also go in there. So we've got a couple of longish range units. Then we have the option here of taking the Spetsnaz, and we can either take them as veteran, or we can take them as elite. So you do get both options for some of the Special Forces units. You only get 2 if you take them as elite. I think they're good enough veteran, to be honest. So I'd take them as veteran. I'm still going to take them because they're really good. I'm only going to take 1 squad of them, and I'm going to take, again, 1 squad of the Spetsnaz OP. You could bring that up to elite, and you get 4 of them. But I think 6 of them at veteran level now is very reasonable anyway. Because that's technically what used to be the old elite. That works for me. So we've got good Special Forces, we've got some good long range. Now, close range, I kind of want to take Sapri, then cheaper obviously than the Spetsnaz, and that's the big thing here. Obviously they've got the RPO still, they're a smallish squad. Would I rank them up beyond trained? No, I think trained is absolutely fine for them, so we've got those guys as well. Other than that here, it really comes down to what you want. What I would recommend is taking infantry in the BMD2 still. The BMD2 is very good. It also now has a Conkers launcher as of recent patches, so I definitely think it's worth taking that. Would I rank those up? No, I think trained is absolutely perfect for those. You get 8 of them in a stack. I'd actually take 2 stacks of those. Slightly expensive, but very effective with that BMD2. And you get 19 of them. Remember, you're going to be relying a lot on infantry. You don't get any tanks anymore. you possibly could even take some more Conkers than you would have previously, but we still get Conkers in the tank tab, so we'll worry about that later. I would take the Metis, guys. I still think the Metis are very good. You only get 6 trained, but I'd stick them in there. Then you have a choice. You have like these guys with the Dragunov. I don't really find them great. I mean, they do have the RPK 74x2, which means they're dishing out a bit of damage, which is quite nice. Got the standard Desert Nicky, which do have a very good anti-tank launcher. I mean, if you compare that to these guys, they only get 18. These guys get 20 pen. That's quite nice. Range is better for the BMD guys, actually. So that's something to take into account as well. Range does matter. And you get these guys, the DSH guys. They only come in a helicopter. Same size squad as those. Come in a helicopter. Less penetration. You do get to bring them in the Mi-8 MTV rocket, which is expensive. And you can take them in the Mi-8 rocket, which is a bit cheaper. I'm not convinced about bringing these guys in choppers, I've got to be honest. I feel like they're at more risk now than they were before. I think choppers need to be a bit more careful. So I'm probably not going to take those. The machine gun squads down here are very good, but they have to be static, so they're very good at defending. You only get 6 of them now, and they come in at veteran. I kind of would like them to come in at trained and get more of them, honestly. Maybe that's just me. I'm leaning towards these guys at the moment. And then I want a command here as well, because I don't get command tanks. So I also need to take a commander. So Spetsnaz commander, probably the meanest of them all, isn't it? We're going to get 2 of those. We get 2 of those guys, who are the same price. We're going to get 2 of those guys, which are slightly... I mean, we take the Spetsnaz commander. They come in at elite, you get 2 of them. That works for me. It seems the most sensible option. Bring them in a Gaz. You could bring them in the chopper. Nothing wrong with that if you wanted to. Obviously, you just got to be careful with them, because if the chopper goes down, they're dead. I'm always a little bit reluctant with infantry and choppers. I'm going to move the Spetsnaz command all the way to that side, just so it's out of the way and I don't click on it accidentally. I'm going to move my close range unit down to the bottom there. Oh, the Spetsnaz can actually stay at the top. I tell a lie. I'm going to move the Sapri RPO down there. There we go. And the Metis can move up there. So there's my line infantry. Metis being the longest range, and then everything else. It's a nice mix of units. Is there anything else that I would jump out and take here? You could take more Spetsnaz potentially. Obviously, bearing in mind they're quite expensive. But I think that's, you know, there's a lot of infantry there. Pretty happy with that. Maybe play around with it a bit going forward. It depends how it performs. Artillery tab. Lots of options here. I will just mention that the Nona is kind of bugged right now. If you rank this up, it goes to 15 rate of fire. It's not supposed to. This is a bug. And then if you rank it up again to elite with a command, it has 23 rate of fire. That's on the direct heat round. So the tank gun effect. This one here. So that's 20 penetration heat round, which does 1.2 HE damage, which can fire at 23 rounds a minute. That will absolutely tear stuff apart. So right now, potentially, if you could sit that in a forest or a tree line to defend a point, you would melt stuff that gets close. But that will get fixed. You have been warned. It will get fixed. Vasilek is fine, but it can't do smoke, which is a shame. So, I mean, I'd be tempted to take those ranked up just because of the rate of fire. I'm going to take them and test them out until I fix it. Because I think the rate of fire is quite amusing. Other than that, you don't get a lot of decent artillery here. You get the Grad, but I'm not really interested in that. You get the 120mm cannons, 122mm. I'm probably going to take those. Other than that, I probably wouldn't take anything else here. I'd rather spend points elsewhere. I'm taking the Nona but I'm also thinking, when they fix that, and I'm not just testing the silliness of the rate of fire, I would take the 120mm mortars, the standard ones, just for the ability to smoke. Okay, tank tab. Can we just sit and cry a little bit more? Oh dear. Well, I mean, I guess we take the D44. Because at least, again, in defensive positions, it's alright. You could rank that up. You'll notice that its rate of fire doesn't go up to 15 or something, because it's not broken. I think just more of those, and I wouldn't bother ranking them up. Yeah, I'm quite happy. Motion, technically, right? This does imply it can fire while moving. I'm not convinced by that. I'm not convinced. Definitely not convinced by that. And then Conkers, you've either got the BRDM2 Conkers, or you've got the little Jeep. I'd take the little Jeep because it's got good stealth. That's only mediocre. At least this is going to be better hidden while it's firing out. I wouldn't bother ranking it up personally. The advantage would be that it has a shorter aiming time, but technically claims it can fire faster, but I think I'd rather have more of them. And again, I'd just move on from this tab. It's really sad. I used to love the T64s, but they're gone. So, Recon, you got very cheap real stats, obviously, now, which I'm still not convinced by. I'm still not convinced by these mediocre stealth Recon vehicles, I'm afraid. So what would I take here? The Spetsnaz GRU, definitely. Am I going to rank them up? Hell no. Spetsnaz GRU go in. You've got the Razvedka DSH, which only come in a helicopter, which makes them pricey. You got the standard Razvedka there, which you get 6 of and can come in a Recon Jeep. It's going to be those guys because I want the little Recon Jeep. The Spetsnaz guys here, you only get 3 of them. They're not too expensive. They're a sniper team. So they're only a 2-man squad. But obviously sniper teams do dish out a lot of damage. So they could actually be quite useful. The Mi-24K, obviously you only get 1 per card now, but the price has gone down. I still think that is very good, and I'd still take 1 of those at least, if not 2. I'm still debating that, because there's only 3 on a card. It's definitely a possibility. I think they'd do a lot of damage, but I think once they open fire, they're also going to die very quickly. Situational. But I'm happy with those as my Recon. Anti-air tab, well, if you've watched my video talking about the veterancy system, I question now whether it's worth ranking up these ZU-23s, because at that level it's 25, 35 up at veteran, or 30 there. I think that's a nice boost to these units in terms of their capability without losing too much. So going from 25 to 30 feels quite nice, and that's going to trained and you still get 6 of them. The Afghansky, similarly, it's 20, 25, 30. You only get 2 though. I think the curve that's on the availability there isn't great for those. Obviously, we're definitely going to take the Eagler. We are not going to rank them up. We are still going to take 1 squad in the UAZ for speed, and I'm also going to take 1 in the Scrizette because I still think the Scrizette's very good. And yeah, I still think they're semi-spammable. I like those in this deck. Because you've got the Scrizette, I wouldn't really worry about these unless you really want to take something that's fast, and then I'd consider the Gaz, which I don't think is atrocious. It's still 30% accuracy, which is pretty reasonable for these without being ranked up. So it will get there faster than the Scrizette, but now we have the range scaling on the missiles. We'll have to see how that pans out. I still take the Strela because I like the Strela. Would I level it up? It's really hard to say. It's got quite a long aiming time. That does help with it a bit. I think I'd take those as is without leveling them up anymore. Neocooler has had a price decrease, which is quite nice. What do we take here? Well, I definitely still like the AA helicopter. I still think that is very beneficial against enemy helicopters. I quite like the Akula AA as well, so we've got lots of options there. I possibly consider dropping one of the Mi-24V AAs if you're going to drop anything here. We're going to take at least one Akula. I still think the Mi-24V rocket is very good. The Mi-24V rocket AT is not bad either. It's got more Concon missiles, but it has different rockets. But it gets more rockets. So, heavier damage, bigger rockets. Less damage, smaller rockets. But otherwise, they are very similar, both of these, if I just pin them. Obviously, the 120mm rockets apparently have a better accuracy, but I'm not really concerned about that when it comes to rockets. Everything else is pretty much the same. So, this comes down to personal preference on price, I guess. More than anything else, in my opinion. Is either one better value for money? I'm not sure. I think I'd rather take the cheaper ones, personally. Beyond that, you've obviously got the Mi-24 VP here, which is still pretty expensive. It's a bit cheaper than the Akula. You can compare those. So, obviously the Vikir missile is better. A lot better. So, if you were going to take another one of these, I would probably take another Akula in there. And then I'd leave it at that, because I feel like I've got a lot of choppers in there. I'd even consider dropping one of those AAs, which takes me to 35 of 50, and let's see what we can spend in the aircraft tab. So aircraft for these guys is pretty much the same. Obviously, we like the MiG-29s. You can have a look at both of those if we just have that one pinned and have a look at this one. What's the big difference between them? Well, the R60M missile and the R73 missile is the big difference here. Obviously, the R73 on the standard MiG-29 AA is a lot more, well, a reasonable amount more accurate, 10% more accurate. Obviously, priority would go to these. I think they're just the better jet initially. Other than that, for anti-air, you've also got the MiG-23, which I still think are good to bring in against choppers and things. I mean, I'd probably consider taking some more MiG-29s here personally. But I know some people would prefer to take the MiG-23. It depends how carefully you're going to play with them. Most of the time, I don't bring out a lot of jets in 10v10s. I'm thinking more small team games and 1v1s. I still have a big preference for the Su-25 AT. I still think it's very good and very versatile. The MiG-27K comes on a single per card now. So I think it came as 2 per card before, you now only get 1. It's still pretty good though. I mean, it's, you know, it's a devastatingly powerful laser guided bomb. So I'm still sticking one of those in there. You're going to want to operate your aircraft with this deck, so I still think a Seed is a good option here. And then you're left with, do you take some HE bombers? Do you take another laser guided bomber? I wouldn't bother with the Su-25 cluster. I would consider the Fab 500 one here, the MiG-25. Your choice is either that one or the MiG-27 for your HE bombers. Obviously, the MiG-27 has a lot less in terms of the bombs it can drop. Okay, so both the MiG-25 and the MiG-27M HE bombers are both a normal bomb strategy. So neither are going to be very accurate, and the reality is, if you're going to go with one of these, I would strongly recommend the MiG-25 because it has more bombs and therefore you're going to have more chance of hitting what you want to hit. Because from a height, dropping 8 is better than dropping 4. Just bear in mind it has no other weaponry. So I would stick that in there. And then you've got the MiG-27M rocket attack. Rocket attack jets can be very good, but as far as this deck goes, I'd actually take the other laser guided bomber, I think. And that takes me up to 49 of 50, which is quite fitting, I guess. because there's nothing else I can think I would want to take. There's nothing else where I have a 1 slot. So I'm pretty happy with that. So logistics, Gaz, Mi-26, the same old forward deployable command unit. Infantry, Spetsnaz Commander, Conkers, SPG-9, Spetsnaz OP, good upfront fighters. Metis, Desniki BMDs, ×2 in the BMD2, standard Desniki squads, and the Sapri RPO. I think you can mix the infantry a lot. I think you can take what you want. I'd still avoid the automatic grenade launchers. I'd still avoid the like 7.62mm machine guns and probably the 12.7mm as well. But otherwise, have a play around. Take what is good for your playstyle. Here, I'm purely taking the Nona to play around with it while it's bugged. I would strongly recommend taking the standard mortar, personally. Just because you have the option of using it to smoke. And remember here, you don't have any tanks. So if you can smoke off an area that tanks are attacking to stop them attacking it, that sounds like a good benefit to me. Tank tab, you've got not a lot here. I've gone with the cannons and I've gone with the Conkers UAZ. The cannons will come in handy for defensive positions, and the Conkers, again, defensive. Recon, Spetsnaz GRU, great units. The Razvedka, because they're just another good option here. And the Mi-24K is still very good, even though you get 1 per card. Anti-air, I really like the Iglas in this deck, personally. There's something to be said for the ZU-23s, but I prefer the Iglas and the Strela. Personal choice. I would not blame anyone for taking the ZU-23. Helicopters, I'd still take the Mi-24 AA. I'd still take the Akula AA, both very good helicopters. The Mi-24V rocket I still prefer because it's cheaper than the anti-tank variant. Again, if you feel you want to spend more, that's fine. And I definitely would take both cards of the Akula AT personally. They're better, and although they cost 20 points more, they are probably 20 points better than the Mi-24 VP because of their accuracy and damage output. They're going to scare tanks away. You have to babysit those Akulas. You don't have tanks anymore. You need those to hold the line. You don't want to be sending those out. You want to hold them back and defend. Air tab, MiG-29AA, MiG-29AA2. You could take the MiG-23 there if you want. Su-25AT, because again we want stuff that's going to kill tanks. 2 laser guided bomber cards because you want to kill tanks. Seed because you need to allow your laser guided bombers to operate. And finally a HE bomber to help with clearing up stuff. You don't have to take the HE bomber, but I always think it's nice to have one in there. And there you go. 35th deck without tanks. Oh, I miss my T64s. Never mind. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please do like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all soon for another deck build.